Welcome back to our second flipped video. Today we're going to talk about scale. How large is something when we say it's large? How small is something when we say it's small? Well, it's really going to depend, and since with chemistry we'll be working with both very large numbers and very small numbers, I think it's good to take a minute and try to get what we would consider to be a baseline, so we have a point of comparison. So today we're going to take a look at some very large things and some very small things. So let's start with something that we're all familiar with, a human, a nice average human. There's a picture of an average human right there. Your average human is going to run about 1.65 meters, SI units of course, and the average mass of a human will be around 70 kilograms. Point of comparison, a good conversion between kilograms and pounds, at least on Earth, is going to be about 2.2 pounds for every kilogram. What's a human made of? Well, a bunch of different elements, mostly carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. Those are the main six. There's many other elements that make up a human, but mostly those elements are only present in very small amounts. So if you can remember those big six, almost any life form will be made up of those mainly. Age. Well, humans can live up to 120 years. Of course, that would be a very, very old human. The species itself has probably been around for at least 200,000 years, maybe a little bit longer, depending on how exactly you classify species, which some biologists will tell you one thing, some will tell you something else. And the average temperature of a human is going to be around 98.6 degrees on the Fahrenheit scale. That will be around 37-ish, probably a little bit lower on the Celsius scale. That's of course an average temperature. My body temperature typically runs around 96.8. So it never seems like I'm running a fever, even if I technically am for my own personal normalness. Let's move up a step in size. Let's move to the size of the planet, and let's say Earth, for example. It's a planet we're familiar with. We live here. The diameter of Earth is going to be about 1.27 times 10 to the 7th meters, which if we flip back to human real quick, you'll see since we're just under 2 meters tall, that's going to be about, doing some math, what is that, 10 million times longer than a human. The mass of the planet, 5.97 times 10 to the 24th kilograms. Very, very, very massive. And Earth isn't even that big of a planet. Composition, made out of some of the same stuff as humans, oxygen, but also silicon, aluminum, iron, metal things, rocky things. The age of the planet Earth, about 4.54 billion years. Very old. Not as old as some things, but still very old. And the temperature at the core of the planet is going to be about 5700 Kelvin. So, Kelvin scale, you'll recall, is the SI unit for temperature. To get from Celsius to Kelvin, you're going to add 273 to a Celsius temperature. Kelvin goes down as low as 0. We'll go over all these temperature scales another time in class. They're actually not that complicated. But you'll be comparing this temperature of the Earth to the temperature of our next object in just a minute. The sun, or any star really, happen to pick the sun, or by another name you can call the sun Sol, as in solar system, as in the system of planets that orbits around Sol, our star. The sun makes a good example for this because it's a fairly average star. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's what's called a main sequence star. Its size, for the present moment, is about 1.39 times 10 to the 9th meters diameter, with a mass of 1.99 times 10 to the 30th kilograms. Much more massive than the Earth. What is it made of? Mostly hydrogen and helium for now. So what a star like the sun does is it takes two hydrogens and it slams them together to make a helium that releases heat, that releases light, thereby sending energy to the Earth. When a star starts to run out of hydrogen, it's going to start fusing together other things. Maybe a helium and a hydrogen to make lithium. Maybe two heliums to make a number 4, that's going to be, checking the periodic table, beryllium. And other elements in that way up to carbon. Now, a really big star, much bigger than the sun, can explode near the end of its life, and that releases so much energy, it fuses everything else together. That star, that stellar explosion, is going to make every element on the periodic table. So, elements like in our body, nitrogen, oxygen, some of these things, phosphorus, every atom in your body came from an exploded star. I just think that's really cool. Age of our star is about 4.6 billion years, slightly older than the Earth, which would make sense. You would need a star in the center of the solar system before you'd get the planets going around it. And its temperature, 5,800 Kelvin, near the surface of the sun anyway. Way too hot for us to live on. Step it up a size, or more than just one size. Let's go to the galaxy, in particular our galaxy, the Milky Way. Now, we live in the galaxy, so you can't really take a picture of it because we're part of it. We can sort of take a selfie that has part of the face of our galaxy in it, so we know it's a spiral galaxy. We're not really sure whether it has 2 or 4 spiral arms. We know that we are on the edge of it, however. We're not very close to the center at all. The galaxy has a diameter of 100,000 light years. That's 9.46 times 10 to the 20th meters. Light years, it's a unit of measure which means the distance that light travels in 1 year, which means it takes light from a star way over on this end of the galaxy 100,000 years to go to this end of the galaxy. That's a long time. This is a big, big distance. The mass of the galaxy, 1.15 times 10 to the 42nd kilograms, which is really big, as we would expect, because the galaxy is made up of hundreds of billions of stars, plus all the planets that go around those stars, all the rocks, all the dust in the galaxy, and other stuff. There may be a collapsed star known as a black hole, a gigantic one in the center of the galaxy, sort of holding everything together. The age of our galaxy is about 12.6 billion years, more than twice the length of the age of our sun. Next up, the universe. Our universe. We're not sure that there are others, although there is some evidence for the existence of other universe. Diameter, 93 billion light years. That's 8.8 times 10 to the 26 meters. With a mass of 3 times 10 to the 52nd kilograms. Very, very, very massive, because the galaxy is composed of billions. The universe is composed of billions of galaxies, just like ours. Some bigger, some smaller, some just like ours. So there's trillions and quadrillions of stars out there. There's just so much out there, and we'll never see it all. It's just too big. Age of the universe, as near as we can tell, is about 13.8 billion years. Very, very, very old. Average temperature of the universe, since it's so spread out, since a lot of the space in between stars is vacuum, only about 2.73 Kelvin. That's just above absolute zero, which is 0 Kelvin. Absolute zero is the temperature at which all motion in the universe would stop. Let's go the other way, because this is chemistry, so we will be working with things that are very small. Let's talk about a typical animal cell, which is a bit of a misnomer. There is no typical animal cell, but let's go with a nice round one like this. Its size is going to be about 10 times 10 to the negative 6 meters, depending. And I made a mistake there. See if you can figure out what it is. You were right. That should be 1.0. You can't have 10 in scientific notation, so that should be 1.0 times 10 to the negative 5th meters. The mass of your typical cell is going to run about 1 times 10 to the negative 12 kilograms. Very, very, very light. What's it made of? Carbohydrates, like sugars. Proteins, these are things that do things in a cell, they're cellular machinery. Nucleic acids, like DNA and RNA, this stores information. And lipids, these are fats. They can store energy or they can be used as parts of the cell membrane and stuff. You'll remember these from biology. Moving down to a smaller thing, an individual molecule. Let's go with glucose. It's not a very big one. DNA, for example, is a very, very big molecule, but glucose is pretty small. It has a length of about 1 times 10 to the negative 9th meters and a mass of 3 times 10 to the negative 25th kilograms. Pretty small. What's it made out of? Well, carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens. You'll remember glucose from biology, C6H12O6. The black dots there are carbons, the reds are oxygen, and the whites are hydrogen. So it's very, very light. It's a sugar molecule. The lowest level that we'll go today is talking about an atom. Let's go with a carbon atom. Carbon's pretty important in chemistry, as we'll find out this year. Size of 7 times 10 to the negative 11th meters, so pretty small, with a mass of 2 times 10 to the negative 26 kilograms. Very, very, very light. Less than a millionth of a gram, less than a billionth of a gram, less than a quadrillionth of a gram. Very, very, very light. What is an atom made of? Protons, neutrons, electrons. You know what those things are already probably. We'll talk more about them this year. So we're going to stop there for scale. Next time in class, we will take a look at comparing sizes of some stars to each other, comparing sizes of galaxies, comparing sizes of different atoms to each other. And I think will be even more impressive then, but I just wanted to give you an overview of different things and their size in big and small. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to do your whisk. I'll see you in class.